Hey guys, welcome to another episode of The Garden Voyeur. My name's Brian, and today's episode we are going to be doing some maintenance in the garden. It's another hot day. This is, I think, our fifth or sixth day, well into the 90s here in St. Louis, and we've got a few things that we need to clear out of the raised garden beds. We've got a few things that we need to clear out on the side of the house. So, due to various different issues, either bugs, bacterial something or another, I don't know, some kind of virus that hit the tomato plant that we've tried to nurse along for the last month or so, but it's just not doing really good, and I think we've got some blossom end rot going on. So I want to get that stuff cleared out so that we can get ready to plant some more things for fall. So there's a couple things I wanted to show you guys around the house here that are two really big reasons why we do raised bed gardening. And behind me is one, so let's take a look real quick, okay? So I don't know what this stuff is. It's kind of like our prairie in progress that you guys see along the state highways or whatever. But this is the corner of our backyard, and we just don't get back here to mow because, one, it's kind of close to the creek and the ground is really soggy, and my riding lawnmower gets stuck in the grass. So we kind of just leave it to kind of grow. And if you just take a look, there's a lot of these little flowers, and we get a lot of bees out here, which is kind of cool. So I'm not complaining, but my thing is, why can't we make vegetables that grow like this? I mean, there's no sign of any kind of virus or bacteria, whatnot, or grasshoppers or caterpillars eating. It's just growing so fast. I'll step back a little bit so you guys can kind of see. But this area, I mean, it's gorgeous. But why can't our vegetables grow like this? So one of the things that is the reason why we do the raised bed gardening, though, is when I've planted in the ground, a lot of these weeds are just, by the time the middle of summer hits and you get a good rain, it's just so hard to weed. And when you get something like this going, competing with your vegetables, you're going to lose out. Or at least that's been my experience. So that's one reason. I'm going to show you another one. Let's go over to my son's garden. He's a 7-year-old, and let's go see what's going on with his real quick before we head to the big garden. Okay, so over here is my 7-year-old's garden, and well, this looks kind of rough, but this is what happens in the middle of the summer, where when you can't get out for a few days, the weeds completely take over. Now, this actually looked pretty good a couple weeks ago. He had some really nice, I think they were it was a packet of like prairie flowers. They were growing great, had a lot of bees out here. Most of the stuff that we've put over here, or that he's put over here, are the kind of transplants from our main garden. He kind of calls this the hospital garden bed. And so he's got a radish plant that he kind of nursed back to health that I had pulled probably over a month ago. And the black cherry tomato, that was a cutting that we did when I was trimming back our black cherry. And he planted that over here, and it's a pretty good size. I would say, I don't know, 3 feet tall, really bushy, got plenty of tomatoes starting out, so he's real proud about that. And then he's also planted had some leftover seeds for lettuce. I think we have some romaine, and what else does he have back here? It's hard to tell because the weeds have grown over. But that's another reason, that's the second reason that I really highly recommend doing the raised gardens, is that you don't really have to mess with this kind of stuff. The second you see any kind of weed start to sprout, you get in and you pull it right away. Middle of summer, again, it's probably going to be 98, 99 today, hot and humid. You don't want to come out here, and at least I don't, I know my kids don't, come out here and weed. And the second you take a few days off, the weeds kind of get intermixed with everything, and you can't really do anything other than just kind of rip everything out. So we'll have to kind of make a determination on what to do when he gets home from school. But we've got both of my sons have a big birthday party coming up this Sunday. So we're trying to get everything kind of cleaned up. So we got to figure out what we're going to do here. I hate to rip some of his things out, but that's just something he's going to have to learn as a gardener. Okay, we're back to the main garden, and what we're going to do in today's episode is we're going to clear a few things out. I've been in the process of doing that this summer to get ready for fall planting. We've done a few. I just actually got a very cool package in the mail, which we'll do an episode on, the kind of unboxing, unwrapping. I got some seeds in, so I want to share that with you guys. But in the back here, you guys can see we've got 3 tomato plants that we planted in the spring. The one on the far side is our black cherry tomatoes, and that has probably been our best producer so far this season. It was a plant that we had purchased at Green's Country Store here in St. Louis, and it's done a great job. We come out almost every other day, pluck a few off. The only problem we're having with the black cherries is we've got a lot of spider mites. So I'm out here, every so often. I'm trying to do what I can, but I think it's starting to get away from us. So if you guys have any other tips to help with spider mites that are as organic as possible, let me know. The tomato plant that's in the middle, that's kind of a surprise. That was one that was kind of left over, I think, from last year, because our garden was actually in the ground in this area last year, and probably a few tomatoes had dropped and the seeds sprouted over the spring. So we went ahead and put a Texas tomato cage on it, and it's done a really good job. It's just a regular cherry tomato bush, and it's doing okay. I would say we get probably not as much as the black cherries, but it's doing all right. It's starting to stress a little bit, I think, the last couple weeks because of the weather, but other than that, it's not doing too bad. This one here was our beefsteak tomato, and this started out really good. We had a bunch of fruit right off the bat, and then we ran into a problem where we started getting this leaf curl. And what I'll do is we'll get in real close so I can show you guys the kind of problem that we're having with this. So as we get a little bit closer, you can kind of see that the leaves are curling a little bit, and I'm not quite sure. I did some research online, and it could have been a virus, it could have been spider mites, and the traits that it was showing, I didn't see anything as far as spider mites were concerned. So my conclusion right now is that it's going through some kind of virus issue. It's gotten mildly better, and here's a picture of some of the tomatoes that we're getting, and they're kind of, looks like they're splitting a little bit, but it just seems to be struggling to kind of do what it's doing. And there was a bunch of tomatoes that I just pulled off last week that we pulled aside, and my fear is that we're just kind of nursing along, and for no good reason, because I just don't think it's going to do anything anymore. So one of the things we like to do with the bad tomatoes is give them to the kids for this. So can you think of a better way to use your bad tomatoes and just give them to the kids to have some fun with? But so back to the beefsteak, I'm going to give it probably another week. I mean, it looks like it's kind of at least stabilized a little bit. I am concerned that the last 5 or 6 tomatoes that we did pull off had blossom end rot, but the tomatoes that are out here now look okay. And what I may do is give it a little more of the, maybe just toss in a little bit of the worm castings and some of the kelp that I've got, mix that into the soil, and kind of see how it does. I mean, this was going downhill pretty quick, but it seems to have stabilized. So I'm going to go ahead and give it maybe another week and kind of see what the tomatoes do, if they're going to continue to ripen up or not, and we'll go from there, because I'd hate to pull this out if it looks like it could be coming around the corner. Okay, so now we're back to this part of the garden, and this is what we're going to pull out today. It's pretty safe to assume that these things have run their course. This was our spaghetti squash that we had, maybe I think 5 that were really good this season. So I'll probably do this again next year. We're going to end up moving all the large squash plants out into the middle of the yard in a new raised bed that I'm going to do over winter. And our zucchini here just didn't go. And I'm kind of curious to see, once we start pulling things out, if we see anything that maybe a specific type of bug or something. I couldn't find out what was going on. It just really never took hold. So let's go ahead and get started with clearing this stuff out. What I'm going to do with the Texas tomato cages, which are really good, they're kind of expensive. I think for like 6 of them, they were like $125. But they're heavy duty, and that's the cool thing, is when you're ready for storage, they flatten up and you can toss them in the garage or shed or wherever you guys have, and they store pretty good. So what I think I'm going to do is at least let my 7-year-old have a couple of these over in his garden, so that he can nurse a few more plants back to health. But what we're going to do is we're going to pull these out, and we'll have to come up with a plan to see what we're going to do in this side. This is kind of a hybrid raised bed garden / just stick everything in the ground. We bought a bunch of bricks from our local Home Depot, and we put in some soil. We had a weed fabric down there to kind of help with the weeds, which kind of helped. But I do want to kind of redesign this area and build it up even more, and also have it to where we don't have the weeds poking out from the back, because that's kind of a hard place to get to. You can't really get back there. I mean, you can to hand pull the weeds, which, I mean, who wants to do that? I can get the weed whip out, but the problem with that is because we're up against the siding, the weed whip will actually rip the siding, and I've done that as well. So why don't we come over here, and the squash plants still have the little thorns on there, so you want to be kind of careful as you're going. But my thoughts are, a lot of the stuff that we'll rip out from the garden we'll throw in our compost bin, but I'm kind of concerned because we did have the powdery mildew on the spaghetti squash. So I don't want to introduce any of that into my compost bin. So, you know, I should have had gloves. I bought gloves, and I should be using them. So, you know what? Hang tight. I'm going to go get my gloves. All right, you guys are still there, so good. So let's get pulling here. I got my gloves that we bought, and we're just going to pull everything out and get these racks out of the way. We've got a little bit of some weeds and stuff. That's not a big deal. And we'll just kind of clear those out. And so let's take a look at the squash plant over here a little bit closer and see if there's anything that we can see. All right. Whoop. Okay, so here's a close-up of the body there of the squash, of our zucchini, and it just seems kind of rotted through. If we look, yeah, just all kind of here. Let me take my gloves off real quick. Handle this a little bit better. And I'm almost wondering if this wasn't a pest issue. Number one, if you kind of look, it looks like a lot of, it's almost like sawdust consistency, as if there was, I don't know, maybe one of those squash bugs or vine borers were inside, and as they chew through the stuff, this is what's kind of left over. And it almost looks like there's a, I don't know if you guys can see in there, there's a couple tiny holes, but I'm almost wondering if that was the issue. I'm trying to look and see if there's anything in the ground that I see. I mean, it's very woody, so not quite sure. I'm almost leading to believe that this is a bug of some sort. I mean, there's a whole bunch of ants in there, which I'm sure probably the ants are very common. But yeah, looks like this could have been a bug issue. And I don't know if you guys, when you take a look at that, if that looks like anything to you. But we'll just go ahead and get rid of it anyways. It's done its job. So the one guy that gets to survive after all this is our eggplant. The solo eggplant we've been nursing for the last couple months. And that better be like the best tasting eggplant ever. So I'm going to finish up kind of cleaning up this mess and get some of these cages over to my son's garden. Let him play around when he gets home from school. And we'll see you on the next episode. All right, catch you guys later.